If your food or drink product is getting taste complaint and you already switched the flavor, change the dosage, and complaints are still coming, this video is for you. Today, I'm walking you through 4 root causes behind almost every food product taste complaint and what real diagnosis actually look like. Hi there, I'm McVitie, a food scientist and flavor expert. I've trained and worked inside a flavor house for years and worked with brands such as McVitie. The Food Lab is where I break down the science of flavors in the way they're actually useful when you're building or growing a food and drink business. So if that sounds like you, make sure to subscribe. So when you get a taste complaint, the natural instinct is obviously to look at the flavor. You go to your flavor supplier or any other supplier like fruit juice concentrate, powders, inclusions, or your contract to manufacturer, and obviously you ask for more samples. So your suppliers and your contract manufacturer are obviously very good at what they are doing. But when you call them or you send them an email and you just ask, okay, clearly the flavors are not working, can you send me something else? They will try different flavors, they will go maybe to the flavor library, try different flavors, or again, fruit juice concentrate or whatever brings the flavor. They may try in different applications and send you new samples. But in all of this process, all of this back and forth, no one is usually asking the right question, which is, what is wrong with my product? And sometimes it can be very hard for food and drink founders because I know that most of you're not from a flavor background, you're not from a food background. So yes, diagnosing the taste issue on what exactly is wrong with your product may require a flavor training, which most food and drink founders or product development team don't have. But the problem with that is you go in back and forth. And I know it because when I was working at McVitie's, it was exactly like that. As their flavor specialist, I was looking at the R&D team, months of back and forth with exactly the same. No, this flavor is not working. We don't like this sample. Can we have another one? Can we have another one? No, we don't like any of those. Can we have other ones? And sometimes the product development team ended up with 20, 30 flavor samples. And every time I ask them, but are you going to have time to try them all? And I said, no, I'm just going to sniff few and just pick few that smell good. And I'm going to try this. And the other one, I'm just going to discard. That's not product development. That is insanity. Because we don't really know what the problem is and we have no clear direction on where we are going, no clear objective about the flavor. Now, you know, I can talk about flavors for a very long time, but let me give you 4 things that actually matter here. Root cause number 1, the wrong flavor profile. So there is a big difference between flavor and flavor profile. And it's not a technical term. Technically, flavors is literally everything. It's the basic taste, it's the aroma compound, it's the smell. But this is what I like to use to differentiate the two. The flavor can be strawberry, it can be chicken, it can be peri-peri, sweet chili. That is, for me, a flavor. Flavor profile is all of the characteristic of that flavor. So woody, herbal, perfumey, jammy, ripe, floral, candy, etc., etc. And what work in a dairy-based protein shake may not work at all in a plant-based protein shake. What feels smooth and comforting in a bakery product may feel completely out of place and weird in a functional supplement. So when the flavor profile doesn't match either the product itself or your target consumers and what they expect, this feels out of place. So maybe you were right of selecting this chicken flavoring, for example, but maybe it wasn't the right one. Maybe, I don't know, it needs to be a little bit more skin and roasted like. Of course, your consumers won't be able to tell you exactly what is wrong, but they may say things like, it doesn't taste right, it tastes off, it's weird. That is most of the time a flavor mismatch. So that's why if you just ask your flavor supplier, your ingredient supplier, your contract manufacturer, can you send me another vanilla? You understand where the problem is, rather than saying exactly the characteristic that you know will work and the characteristic you know didn't work in your product. So an example I had with a client was he really wanted a Madagascan vanilla. Except, if you heard this podcast, I said before, his plant-based protein shake tasted like Play-Doh. Vanilla was one thing, but a Madagascan vanilla didn't work in the product. It's such a delicate flavor. Then when you have a plant-based and a very functional base, not only you couldn't say it was vanilla, you couldn't say it was Madagascan vanilla, but on top of that, it tasted weird. So instead, we worked on something that worked better, which was a much more creamy and caramelic type of vanilla. It tasted almost like a creme brulee. Root cause number 2, off note from challenging ingredients. And if you listen to the episode from last week, you know already what I'm gonna say. But I'm gonna repeat it again because most of food and drink founders I talk to, they think in the hierarchy that yes, okay, it has some off note, it's a little bit earthy, it's a little bit fishy or cardboardy, okay, but people buy it for the functionality. They buy it because it's good for them. Wrong. Food and drink are not medicine. They are supposed to be enjoyed. Think about the episode when I mentioned about neuroscience, how the brain fits everything and memorize how good a flavor is. If you have something that is functional or with health benefits, you want, I'm assuming, your consumers to eat it or drink it every day. Now, would you consume something that makes you shiver every single day for months, maybe for a year? Every time you drink it, you're just like, ooh, this is disgusting, but this is good for me. That may be true for a while. But when all of your competitors are doing the same, with a better taste, you have no chance. If you look at the functionalities and you look at taste, people are definitely gonna buy something that they can enjoy every day. So the main problem with some of these ingredients is either the food and drink founder, like I said, just ignore completely and think, no, they're going to ignore the off notes, they're going to understand, and they're going to buy it for the health benefit or for the functionality, which, like I said, is wrong, except if you show me data. I dare you. Send me a comment, show me data that all of your consumers are saying that. Yes, I buy your product, I love it so much, it tastes disgusting, but I love all of the health benefits. And seeing how long they buy it for. But the second problem is when you try to mask it with what's called masking flavoring. They are natural flavorings, but they have very secret ingredients in them to be able to mask these off notes. So this is the natural thing, is you have some off note, then you go to your flavor house and you ask for masking flavorings, but they not always work. And you have to understand that there are all the spectrum of flavors that can actually mask some of these notes even better than some of the masking. But you have to do a little bit of digging and you have to do some trials to find the right flavors. And I know because I've done that before with about 20 flavors until I found the one that did miracle. Because if you think this is the only option you have is to use this masking flavoring, then, and it doesn't work, then you are just creating another problem on the problem you already have. But the thing is, as long as you have this off note, you can't look at the flavor or the flavor profile at all. The flavors and the flavor profile are the latest parts. You have to look at the foundation and mask most of these off notes that are unpleasant. Root cause number 3 is an unbalanced base. So this one is more subtle, but is just as important. If your product is too sweet, too salty, not salty enough, not sweet enough, bitter, if it doesn't have the right mouthfeel, if the flavors are too strong, if the flavors are too weak, this is all part of what we call the balance of the flavors. And this balance needs to be right to create a very pleasant flavor and product experience. Again, think about how your product is going to be eaten. If you have a snack, for example, you want them to finish it. You want your consumers to keep on munching. You want your consumers to keep on buying. So if something is out of place, if it's something that is way too sweet, or the flavors are way too strong, or the flavors are completely inexistent, again, think about the experience when they see the packaging, when they open it, maybe a smell is coming out, and then the difference between that expectation and then when they eat your product and maybe it tastes like nothing, or maybe there's something that is just really off, really unbalanced, or just way too much in their face. And that's it. You have ruined it. And you have also lost the trust that they've put in you. They bought your product because they have high expectations of what it is. They look at the fancy packaging, the health benefits, the flavor, just like, whoa, it's going to be a great share. It's going to be a great product. Then they have it and then they are disappointed. Like, oh God, really, like, where are the flavors? I can't taste any of this. You have to think about the expectation you are building and how you deliver it in your product. But again, like I always say, you can't please everyone. So you're always going to have complaints that people say, it's too sweet, it's not sweet enough, it's too salty, it's not salty enough. So again, just focus on what your target consumers are saying. Root cause number 4, ingredient interactions. So I don't know if that happens to you before. That clearly happens to me hundreds of times, especially when I was working in a flavor house. You received a natural flavoring, again, a fruit juice concentrate, fruit powder, some fruit inclusion, and you smell them directly from the bottle. You have a little taste. Oh la la, it smells amazing. Then you put it in your product and then patatras. Patatras, how we say in French, this is a disaster. So you remember what I said about some of the product developers at McVitie's when they were smelling the natural flavoring bottles and deciding which ones to go for the trials. You understand now even more that that was a very, very bad approach. Again, nothing against them. They just received so many samples, they had to take a decision. So that was obviously the easier decision than trying 30 flavors, for example. So I don't blame them. I'm just saying that this is not the best approach. But this is why when I was working in a flavor house, that was really difficult when I just had to send flavors off the shelf. And most flavor houses do that when you request a sample. If you are a low customer or according to what exactly you need, they may just flavors from the library and send it to you without actually trying them in an application. This is also what the problem is. If they don't try with your ingredients, with your process, within your product, the flavor are going to react very differently if you smell them, if you test them in water, if you taste it in a application, or if you try in your product. And that is due to flavor interaction. Sometimes when you smell the bottle and when you taste it in your product, you can't believe this is the same ingredient. What does it actually look like to diagnose a taste issue properly? The first thing is always to try to taste your product like this is the first time. That sounds dumb, but you'll be surprised how hard it is when you have been working and tasting this product for months. And that's just something naturally the brain do when you keep on tasting it again and again. Your brain adapts and it stops noticing things. It basically tells you, yeah, that's fine. I'm familiar with that product. I'm not scared you're gonna die anymore because this is what I've been programmed to do. It's safe to eat. Yes, we just adapted to this earthy note. That's fine. I talk to food and drink founders, especially at events where I'm approached quite often to taste their product. And this founder had absolutely no idea, was really surprised how earthy his product was. He tasted it so many times, he just got used to it. But for me, tasted it for the first time, I was like, whoa, it's a snack. I'm supposed to eat the whole bag of this. I can have 2 or 3, but that's it. It's too earthy. I just want to have like some water to cleanse my palate. If it's too difficult for you or for your team, then try to grab someone that either never tasted your product before or haven't tasted your product for weeks, maybe for months, and really see their reaction. But then ask the right question. What can you taste? Is there anything that is out of place, that feel unbalanced? Is there anything that is unpleasant? Does the flavor profile match what you expected? This is exactly what I do with my clients. It's very important for me to understand what is wrong with the base, what the diagnosis, what is wrong with the actual product, with the actual flavors, before we can even talk about flavor direction. Because sometimes it can be as simple as rebalancing the basic taste, like the sweetness, for example. Sometimes it can be the masking agent is not the right one. Maybe it's just a matter of decreasing a little bit one ingredient, but you only know which one to fix after you have done a thorough diagnosis, not before. So here is your challenge this week. Before you reach out to your supplier or your contract manufacturer, before you request a new sample because you have some taste complaint about your product, sit down with your product or ask someone new to try it for you and do a structured taste audit. Then ask yourself or that person these questions. 1, does the flavor profile feel right for this type of product and this type of consumer? 2, are there any notes that feel out of place, like earthy, bitter, fishy, metallic? 3, is the product balanced, or does it feel it lean towards more flavor than another, or something is too strong or too low? And 4, how does the flavor behave as you're going through the product? Does it fade too quickly? Does it linger? Does the aftertaste surprise you? Write it all down, and this is all you're gonna use to contact your suppliers and your contract manufacturer. You have to do the work yourself. And if you have done the audit and you found that something is not quite right and you want a proper expert perspective on your product, I'm offering a free flavor audit to the next 10 people who get in touch with me. That means honest, scientific feedback from someone who spent more than 10 years in the food industry, that have been trained on flavor language in the flavor house, and work across almost every food or drink category you can think of. So you will get a clear, experienced eye on your specific product. And I know the spots are going very quickly, so either send me a message on LinkedIn, find Manon Galizzi, on Instagram at epixi.uk, you can find me on YouTube, or you can comment on the episode wherever you are watching or listening to this podcast. And finally, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because this is the kind of talk we have a lot. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye!